One Voice Live, where we talk about One Voice, what it is, and how it fits into the world of singing. I am your host, Alex Zeto, and I'm joined today by creator of One Voice, Michael Maresca. Michael, welcome back.
Hey, glad to be here.
This is another vocal translating show, which is where we take potentially confusing words or phrases from the conventional world of singing, and we translate them into our One Voice language to better understand what they mean. So today we are digging into full voice and what that means. So in all my research today, what I've mostly discovered is that people compare full voice to chest voice. More often than not, that's what they call chest voice, just keeping a more speech-like sound all the way throughout your range. One quote that I really, really loved was, full voice is solid, edgy, beefy, and steely. Oh, if you're in the higher range, when you hear full voice, you know it. How good is that? It's like, you know. I love that.
Review. I love steely. That I would love to have someone say that. So your voice is so steely.
Yes.
Metallic? Well, I guess you couldn't call it metallic because that doesn't make sense. But steely.
No, but steely does. Because it's like...
Yeah, that's really funny.
Like strong.
And steely.
And steely, yes. So, Michael, will you tell us a little bit about the current use of this term in singers' lives, full voice?
Like most people utilize this term in a way of saying, lack of a better term in most cases, I think people have transitioned using the word belt. But now the word belt has kind of gotten smushed into this idea where people talk about mixing, and then they're like, but I'm belting, but really I'm mixing, and like whatever that actually means, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think the term has gotten really smushed up, but in most cases it generally means very loud. And I think most people are, when they're asked to use that, they're asked to make a sound that is more in conventional and old school terms, or non-one voice terms. I think people are asked to give a full voice sound or a chest voice like sound all the way up. And if they can keep that chest voice like sound all the way up, then they're giving us full voice. And it can't sound wispy, it can't sound breathy, it can't sound anything like that, because that's not considered full voice. It was actually a long time ago, people would talk about it as a term of having this chest voice like sound high. And the key is high. It's funny. It's actually a synonymous term, I think, with belting. Now, no one uses the term as much, I should say, as they did a long time ago. And it was a way to like differentiate between tenors and people who were singing high, to be like, well, no, he's not singing in full voice, but he is. And it generally was someone who was singing. They had a different quality of sound to their voice. And it was like, wow, that's not full voice. But it's always been a super, as you obviously probably read, and I'm sure people watching have also read and or seen it online. There's all these debates all the time about whether or not it's full voice. They're not really singing in full voice. It's just another term that kind of just gets argued about all the time because there's no lines about it. There's no real clear, distinct meaning for what it means to have full voice. But I think it's something that people use. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I just feel like there's also this underlying like superiority with full voice. Like they're not actually doing full voice. It's like they're not actually doing it, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But if you are doing full voice, like you're achieving it. You're living
your best life. Yeah, you're amazing. It's so true. That's so true. People are like, oh yeah, he was like singing the note, but like it wasn't full voice.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Or like he flipped.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, okay, are you better than him? I don't understand. Is it not singing then? Is it not good if he did not get to quote unquote full voice? There is that prestige, I should say. Yeah, I would say about that. It's funny. Yeah. Did
you have experiences pre-One Voice with full voice in your own singing life?
Extravaganza. Yes. Yes, I totally did. I remember I was at an audition. It was a final callback for creatives. It was final callback creatives and producer callback for Jersey Boys, and they were looking at me for Bob Gaudio. And I remember, in one voice terms, I couldn't really get to a heavyweight. and up in my middle. And so I had this song that I had to sing, Cry for You, or Cry for Me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to sort of remember this. This is a long time ago. And I'm in the room and I'm singing, I go, I cry for you and I'll cry for me. Well, I think this is the right lyric, so forgive me if I'm missing this. Forgive me, gosh, and then you lied, go on and cry for me. Well, you knew it from the start. Someday you'll break my heart. Now we're all through, so cry for me. And that's kind of how I sang it. And they were like, all right. I think there's a guy in there who was English, and he's like, right, nice, Michael. Yeah, can you take it again? But this time, we'd really like you to give it to us in full voice. And it was funny because in the moment I was like, oh man, I was really giving it my all. Right? I was really giving you everything I had. Ooh. Like, can you do that? And of course, what do you say? Of course, yes, I can do that. Yes, of course. Let me make a big change for you, right? and then I go, you cheated and you lied. You're gonna cry for me. Well, you knew it from the start. Someday you'll break my heart. Now we're all through. Same exact sound. So cry. And they were like, after I finished it, they were like, thank you. Very nice, thank you. That's I was like, is that what you were looking for? Great. No validation of it. No, like, yeah, no, I was not really, just that was what we needed. Thank you. And I was like, thank you. And I was like, I did not make the sound. I didn't make the sound.
The full voice.
No, the full voice. So yes, that was my experience. That was my world. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this leads me to the next question, which is, it's so good. Why was that not helpful for you in that moment? Like, what is the possible misinterpretation of full voice?
Yeah, I mean, I think what was hard for me is that I had no clear destination. You know, I think is kind of where it went. Like I wasn't clear about what that meant to make that kind of sound. What does full voice mean for me? And when you say full voice, you just want me to be louder? Do you want me to be yellier? Do you want me to do something different that I have no idea? One voice world, does that mean like make my vocal track bigger? What does that mean? And so in my mind, I was really kind of confused at that idea. And I think in particular, I think it could be a confusing and a dangerous, dare I say dangerous term for some people, because people like me growing up, one of the things I would do is I would have tried to take my chest coordination and just take that sucker up as high as I could. And I did that anyways all the time. And I was like obliterating my voice every day, which is awesome. And so when I would do that, I would try and just take my chest coordination and just shove it up as high as I could go. So my throat was like ripping out of my body. And I know I wasn't alone. There's like so many of us that have done that. But I didn't know how to do that any differently. I didn't know how to make what I heard people say was the full voice sound. I didn't know how to do that any other way. So I would just shove what I had as high as I could take it until my throat gave out or the larynx ripped out of my mouth. It's great. Really lovely. I'm sure everyone wanted to hear that. You're welcome.
Sleep tonight. So let's dive into what does full voice mean in our one voice language?
Yeah. So I think for us to clarify it, I mean, this would be my take. I would love to hear yours as well. I would say that we, if we're talking about full voice, in the world of one voice, it generally means two things. It means heavyweight and it means loud. I will also add perhaps a wrinkle in popular music to that, in that it means a heavyweight, loud. Loud is a big part of it. And then it also means sometimes distorting the vowels. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if we can use this as the example, as our example, what am I just said it twice. Example. If we can use it as an example, is the "Go on and cry for me." So right now I'm in a midway. Me, probably medium volume. Mm-hmm. Well, you knew it from the start. Someday you'll break my heart. Now we're all through. So cry for me. So midway. Even if I do that loud, I'm still not going to get the quality of the sound that I want. So I have to really change my weight. So right now at that midway, I've got to get heavier. If this is light and this is heavy, I've got to go heavier. And so I would say it's a heavier weight. So we have something that goes, as opposed to cry. Watch, I'm going to make it go louder. Cry. Still not quite the sound we want. So listen to the difference when I go heavier. Will you, just going heavier. Well, you knew it from the start. Someday you'll break my heart. Now we're all through. So cry. And I think if we distort it a little bit, when you say cry, it's almost like an Irish cry. Cry! Instead of saying cry, say cry for me. It's also not for me. The word is actually for. But if you distort a little bit, for me. So we take the vowel from its normal shape or its neutral shape, what we would call in one voice, and we just adjust it. So I think those three pieces are really what make up full voice, if we were to break it down in the world of one voice. And in particular, on high notes, we would do wandering. No, I'm sorry. It's from Bridges. What's the song from Bridges?
It All Fades Away.
It All Fades Away. Thank you. When he gets to the if he went like this, he goes hi everybody, midway. No one cares, right? You're like but it's so amazing because he hits that moment. You're like, oh, so incredible. He hits it with that heavy weight. And I'll add this to it as well. I think also shaping is also part of it in terms of the vocal track, because you can't go no one cares. So it has to keep the vocal track has to be in a neutral position at least. Keeping the heavy weight. If I go up, I can't go super cool. It's that moment of holding that neutral vocal track, loud, heavyweight. Is kind of distorted if you listen to it. It's not just normal.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think my history with full voice has a lot to do with vocal track shaping. Because I was always squeezy heavyweight, no matter where I was.
You were already there, yeah.
But I think as I got higher, I would shorten my vocal tract, and people thought because of that I was going into a different voice or losing weight in our world.
Yes, totally.
And really, I just needed to extend my vocal tract a little bit.
When you, just because we're on it, if you don't mind me asking, when you did this, did you have stuff where experiences where people are like, it's not belty enough. It's not, give me that, I want full voice, Alex. What did you do to make that shift? What would you do now, I guess? I mean, did you do it in the moment? Were you successful, or would you change that now?
I think I was successful in the moment. I think I, under for whatever reason, it clicked for me. I didn't know what I was doing, but I think I did extend my vocal tract, and I just made it what felt yellier, so louder and a longer vocal tract, which is what I would do now, is I would do everything you're talking about, essentially. Longer vocal tract, make sure I'm maintaining a heavy weight, and make sure I'm a loud volume.
And you said something, I mean, we've touched on it a couple times, which is the idea of yellier. And I just wanted to touch on that. You know, when people hear that word, I think most of the time, at least this is what I hear from most people, is they will say, you know, yelly, and like people like freak out, like, oh my gosh, yelly, that's bad, can't do that, it's no good. You definitely don't want a full voice high, like all this stuff. And really what we're hearing is we're hearing a distorted vowel, loud, heavyweight, up high generally. And that is the sound that we create when we yell. But that some people, when they try and produce the same sound, end up taking chest coordination and forcing it up into middle coordination's territory, like me when I was younger. And I just forced the life out of it to get up there. And then I would lose my voice and I would damage my voice. And then people are like, oh, that's bad. Well, it's not bad. It's just that I don't know how to do it appropriately. I'm not moving in the appropriate coordination and then increasing my weight or learning how to build my weight. And so that fear of yelling, I mean, do you experience that with people, that fear of the word yelling or that?
Absolutely. I would say every third consultation I have, someone says, yeah, I just don't want my belt to sound so yelly.
Yes.
But what I almost always find is not only does their belt not sound yelly, which I'm always like, this doesn't sound, or it does, but in a good way, it doesn't sound screamy the way you think it does, or unhealthy or scary or overwhelming. If you listen to what's on Broadway or what's on the radio, it is yelly. Like, yelly is belting. Like, that's what we like.
Yeah.
So it's funny to me that it's exactly what we're after goal-wise, but we're also writing down, we also don't want that.
It's such a funny, it's like a weird, almost, I can't say double standard, but it's like a weird, like, singing standard or principle that limits us from actually exploring a sound that we really do want.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting, such an interesting thing. And might I add that being able to sing with a heavyweight, my brain just like flipped right back to you talking about how singing in full voice with that term is kind of prestigious. And like, if you're hitting it, like you're really doing it, you know, and it creates this kind of like specialty, like you sing with a full voice. Wow, she's doing full voice on that. He's doing full voice on that tenor high C. That it's not special. It sounds special, but it's not. That we can just make the change by simply increasing our weight and being in the appropriate coordination and being able to build up our volume, which is interesting for that idea. Anyway, you made me think of that. My brain circled back for a second.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've never thought about that before with the yelly thing.
Yeah, I think it's such a deal. I think it's that yelly thing is everywhere, and then it's okay, but we just freak out about. We like limit ourselves and stop ourselves from exploring.
Yeah.
Oh, and I wanted to say this. Hop on and listen to the "It's Somebody to Love" by Queen, and Freddie Mercury is singing, and it's a track that is just the vocal tracks minus all the instrumentation. It's awesome. It's really cool. And so you hear it and you're like, oh, this actually isn't very pretty at all. Like, this actually, what's wrong with this? It's because it lacks all the music and it's just a bunch of yelling, because that is exactly running back to our yelling point. It's such a cool thing. You hear it and you're like, whoa, like, and he's killing it. He's amazing. But it is all just yelling when you take the music away. You take the lights and the music and the band away. It's just yelling. It's actually not that pretty. It's something I've talked about with a lot of people, as I've said, and you and I have talked about this before, is it's like, belting or heavyweight loud is never really pretty. It's just not a pretty sound, because it's yelling. And the cool thing, or what I would say, dare I say, the sexy thing about heavyweight loud is when people control it. It's their ability to control that, and that's what makes it so appealing. Anyways, okay, thank you. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to rewind back. Okay. How would I now, in that old situation where they were asking me in the callback to sing the song, how would I now readjust for that in One Voice World? So they say, Michael, could you go ahead and do that again, but this time could you do it full voice? That would be lovely. Of course, yes, I'd be glad to. I would then say, all right, I've got to increase my weight. I can sustain the volume that I have. The volume is probably pretty good if I'm loud already, but I need to change the weight, and I probably need to distort the vowels as well. So those three things is what I would look at: my weight, my volume, and my vowel, or my shaping. Yeah. So in that ending moment, where I would get to, well, you knew it from the start, someday. So day. The word is day, day. Someday. That's actually how it would be sung if I sang it with a neutral vocal track. Someday. But I'm going to go, day, 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 like day. Say like day. Someday you'll break my heart. I've got the heavyweight. No, not the midweight. Can increase the weight now. Now we roll. I'm going to say all, instead of all. And so I'm going bit by bit, and I'm adjusting my vocal tract as well as sustaining my weight. But simply put, I would distort the vowels and increase my weight while maintaining the loud volume that I already have.
Cool.
Yes?
And if someone's confused in that moment and they're not exactly sure which one it is that they need to adjust, or all three, what are some trigger words from other people that we could, or questions that we could ask to clarify and get a little more information?
I think yelly is an awesome one. I think people are afraid to say that, but I think if the singer comes out and says it, they're like, do you want it more yelly? And they're like, no, just, well, maybe a little, is what they'll say, because they're afraid to cross the line of saying something unhealthy vocally. And I think when they offer that, I think that's a great keyword that just cuts straight through and says, okay, do you just want it more yelly? Is that what you want? They're like, well, yeah, kind of, like we want it like an open yell is what they'll say. Something like that. And you say, cool, thank you. And that immediately says, I need you to distort the vowel, and I need you to go heavier. And like you said, your vocal tract would get too small, and you wouldn't be able to distort enough. And so it would sound like you weren't as heavy and as loud as you were. Then once you distort it all, and then people are like, whoa, amazing, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say yell. Yeah, do you want me to yell this? What else? I think I'm missing some. That would be helpful there.
I think the normal ones are like beefier, but again, that's like which thing do you want me to adjust here? But that to me is like a heavy weight and longer vocal tract.
Yeah, do you want it louder? And do you want, yelly? Do you want it to sound more rocky, like I'm singing a rock song? Or do you want it louder? So yelly, rocker, or louder. For example, if you're going to sing, I think the louder part is key in in more classical rep. So in like operatic stuff, Baroque things, anything like that. If someone says, so here would be a tenor high C. If they're going to say, no, we want that high note to be full C, and right now, full voice. And you might write, oh my gosh, you might right now. Say that 5 times fast. You might right now. Wait a minute. I can't do it. It won't happen. I just made a tongue twister. Everyone, that was so exciting. I just made a
might right now. Send in your videos of you doing it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Everyone is literally watching this right now. They're like, my right. That's amazing, guys. I love it. So, yes, if I'm going to sing that note, it's not that loud, and it's not heavy enough, but listen to the difference. They're like, we want that full voice. And it's much louder, yeah, and you'll hear it might be blowing out the mic on this, so I'm sorry if I did that. Just a little bit stirring. But it's going to be loud and generally heavier. But if someone's going, not the same. Not the same. So that's really going to be a weight and a volume game, and no distortion, because in the classical world, we're really not going to distort the vowel in the way we would in the pop rock world. We're going to distort it as in making it longer. If the word is mye, you're going to go mye, mye. But in the pop rock world, you go mye, something like that. Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts on that? Did I do well for that?
I think you did very well. Yeah, we could really hear the volume difference, but you could hear the weight difference, because
you can probably and you might hear if you guys are when you listen to this, you might hear if my my microphone did it. There'll be gain control. Gain control means it's if you're listening to this, it means it will deaden the volume. And so you'll suddenly hear the volume suddenly deaden a little bit. If you're hearing that when I sing it, it's because the microphone on my phone is going to pull back so you can still hear me singing and it doesn't just blow it out. Or you'll just hear it blow it out. And that's one way you can tell the difference in volume. Is you'll be like, oh, wow, that really blew out the mic that time. Or it really pulled back. That's because the volume changed. As a way to be able to tell the difference in volume for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is not full voice?
Oh, great. When people talk about in old terms and in contemporary speech, voice training, people call it mixing. That would not be considered what everyone else in the world would call full voice because it's a mid-weight. Even though it's loud, it's still a mid-weight, and so it doesn't quite give the punch that we want. And the punch that we really want is for it to sound more yelly. In that case, in a non-classical world. So anything that's in a lighter weight, So when I did it before, when I did, I know it's right for me. It's the only thing I've ever done. It's not, we wouldn't consider that full voice because it's in a midway. Yeah. And then of course anything lighter than that, obviously, but, or not obviously, but anything lighter for sure. Yes? Yes?
Yes! I think we nailed it. Full
Nailed
voice.
it!
Heavyweight, distorted vowels, long vocal tract.
In your face, full voice. One voice, full voice.
Ooh, the battle between one voice and full voice. Okay, awesome. So I don't think we have time for a question today, but please submit your questions to questions.singonevoice.com.
Yes.
And we will get to answering those in our question segment of the show. Next week, Michael Maresca, you are joining me again for another vocal translating. We are talking about support.
Oh,
I'm so pumped.
delicious. Delicious.
We're going to need at least 2 hours for that.
Yeah. We're really, there's going to be a lot of support next week. Let me just tell you that.
And we're going to need your support. So.
We're going to need your support. All right.
Yeah. So same time, same place, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. CT, 7:30 p.m. ET. Michael, I'll see you there. And One Voicers, thank you so much for watching One Voice Live.
Okay. Later.